Hello everybody. Today we're going to be doing a complete disassembly of a 149/146. All of these procedures are the same for the 149 here as you would find for a 146, which is a slightly smaller model. Why am I doing this procedure? Well, I've seen several people take apart the piston unit to grease it, to lube it. No one's ever taken apart the front nib unit, which is in here, this big guy, okay, or the cap as well. So I'm going to take the pen apart completely. Now, why would someone want to do this? Well, unless your pen is in warranty, and if it's in warranty, anything you do here today will put it out of warranty. But Montblanc warranties usually only run about a year, and they only include, warranty services if it cracks, if it chips, things like that, adjustments in the nib. But when you're outside a warranty service, taking a pen into Montblanc, especially if you have one Montblanc or several Montblancs like I do, it can be a costly procedure. So if you're tired of going out and paying big money to do the repairs yourself, and you're a little bit mechanically savvy, if you buy the right tools, as I'll show you, you will be able to do this procedure yourself. Now, before we do that, let's make sure we have a Montblanc 149. So the first thing, we're going to take out a ruler and just do a couple of measurements. Pen is roughly about 6 inches long, capped, and the pen barrel at the widest place is almost 3/4 of an inch wide. How else do we know it's a Montblanc? Well, if we take off the cap and we look at the nib, once it comes into focus, 14 karat 585 149 on the bottom, 4810, which is the highest peak of, I believe it's called Montblanc. Okay, and then if we put the cap on just to hold it together, we see it says Meisterstück, okay, number NO 149 Montblanc. So we've got a big honkin' 149. Now, what's the first thing we'll do? The easiest part to take this pen apart, we will start with the cap. However, before we do that, what tools are you going to need? You are going to need a piston removal tool. Now, most of these tools can be bought on eBay. You look up Montblanc tool. This one's a piston tool, okay? It has 2 little nubs at the end, which will remove your piston. You're going to need one of those. Those usually work for the 146 and the 149. They're interchangeable. The other thing you'll need is a nib removal tool. Now you have the 180 orientation, or as I like to call it, 12/6, and it is a little bit adjustable. Or you will need the other orientation, which is, I believe, a 3/6 or a 3/8. They're slightly different, and the orientations are different. Okay, so you're going to need one of these. Okay, now I'll show you later on how you'll know which one you'll need. Well, actually, I might as well show you now because some of you will be purchasing this. So if I open up my pen, okay, and I show you, there is a little notch there, and there's a little notch up there. So that's 12/6. So I would need this orientation. Now, if your pen has this orientation based on your pen, you may need this one, you may need that one. Get the right one. Okay, but for now, we are going to be working on taking the cap apart. But before we do that, one optional tool you may need is a nib block. Now, why would you need a nib block? This is only if you plan on changing out your nib. Maybe you want a stub nib, maybe you want a broad nib, okay, whatever it is. If you plan on and you want to learn how to knock out your nib in order to change nibs, you're going to need this. If you're not interested in doing that, then don't get it, okay, but I'm going to put that off to the side. All right, so let's get started with the cap. Oh, and the other tool you'll need is a flathead screwdriver, a small one, but not that small. All right, so first we're going to take off the cap, okay. We're going to take it off. We're going to put the fountain pen body to the side. We're going to put our flathead in, and there is a blind screw in there, okay. You're going to line up your blind screw, and you're going to feel it, okay. Once you feel it, you can start turning out, okay. And when you turn out, okay, your cone's going to come off, the blind screw is going to fall out, and you've essentially taken apart your entire cap with the twist of a flathead screwdriver. Great. What are we going to do next? All right. Well, we're going to start with this guy, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to start where most people haven't started before. We're going to take apart the nib. Now, when you do this, there's really only one way to do it. You do need the tool. It's going to come off easy for me because I've done it many times on this pen. For you, you may want to heat it up, okay? And if you have a hair dryer with a cone attachment, you can put a little heat here, not too much, maybe about 30 seconds. Don't get too close and heat it up. You don't have to do that because this tool works pretty well. It has a large grasp and it makes it pretty easy. So basically, you're gonna, and you can pull this apart a little bit if you want. You don't want to scratch the gold. You're gonna lay this tool in there and you're gonna feel around until you feel it click on the 12 and 6 slot. And then you hold your pen, you grasp it tight, but not too tight, and you hold the unit and you're gonna start turning, okay? Let me get this, and hang on one second. Okay, I didn't have a firm grip. You're going to start turning, and there you go. Now the nib is going to start to come out, okay? And it's going to start to come out, and you're going to see the sleeve come off that covers your barrel, okay? The sleeve, and the feed, okay? The nib and the feeder case. Now, if you had to, and the other thing you're going to need, and I should have said it before, silicone grease, okay? This is what you're going to use to lubricate all of your parts. I bought this in the plumbing aisle, Home Depot. Great stuff. All right, so any of the threaded pieces, you're going to be lubing them. You're going to lube this whole part because this is what's going to keep your pen sealed. And when you put it back together, the lubrication is going to help keep everything sealed. Now, when you first get this pen, if you open it for the first time and it's never been opened before, you're going to have this pink bubblegum material, kind of like actually what's on here right now, that little piece. And what that is that's Montblanc's proprietary lubricant. You don't have to use that. It's almost like a silicone sealant. It's really kind of unnecessary. I think silicone grease works just fine. Anyway, I've taken apart the whole pen. Now, if you just wanted to grease it and put it back together, you can do that. However, I'm going to be thinking as you want to actually, let's say, change out this nib for maybe a stub or a broad. So we're going to go over to our nib block. Now, your nib block, if you buy one, they usually come with a couple of different rod sizes. Now, the idea is, you can see in there the feed. Okay, you're gonna fit in a cone in here. You're going to put this into a block and you're going to use a hammer or something to knock this whole unit out. Now that may sound scary, but it's really not. What you want to do though is you want to find the right rod, one that fits in there. Now this one's too big. It will not fit in. You don't want to use that because you'll crack your threading and it'll be a mess or bend it. This one fits just right. Okay, so what you do is you're going to lay your nib unit with the feeder case and the sleeve into one of your nib blocks. You're going to take your rod, you're going to put it in the top, and I'm actually going to use my ruler to show you how easy it is, and I'm going to tap the top of this rod, okay, with the ruler instead of a hammer. I would use a small ball peen, okay? Okay, and it fell out already. So I remove my rod, I take my feeder case out, and you could see that the feed came out, and there's the nib, okay? So now I could say, hey, I don't want this nib anymore. Put it to the side, bring in a stub nib, okay? And then I would be able to put that back together, and now I just essentially changed nibs on this $700 or $800 pen, and you can find these nibs on eBay. In fact, most of the tools you can find on eBay searching for Montblanc nib tool, okay? Or Montblanc piston tool and what have you. All right, so we've taken the feed and the feeder case apart. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to take apart the piston, okay? Now many of you have seen this. Why would we take apart a piston? It's getting tight. Maybe you've left ink in it for a while. So same kind of thing, okay? if you look at this, hopefully I'll bring it into focus, there's a notch here and there's a notch there. This tool on this end with the nubs is going to line up with it. Okay, so we put the tool in there, we wait to see that we fit it in, and we're going to give it a turn. Okay, and again, this is a little bit easier because I've done this before with this pen, but we'll twist and twist and twist until we see all that brass. Okay, we'll jiggle that out and give it a couple more twists. Okay, and this should pull right out. And there we go. You put your barrel to the side and you have your piston unit. Now this is the unit that sucks in the ink and pushes it out. Okay, and we're going to push this all the way out, and it's just going to drop out. Our cone is going to drop out, and then we have our brass feeder, and there's a little ring in here, a protective ring. I'm gonna leave it on there because I don't want to lose it. I don't want to leave anything out. But we've essentially taken apart the entire Montblanc pen. Now, piece by piece, we're going to put it back together. Okay. Now, what we're going to start with, we're going to get our nib, which we have here. Put that to the side. We're going to take our feeder case, and we're going to take our, where is it? Our feed. Okay. Now, I'm going to push these to the side, the rest of them, and we're going to work on those. Now, what you have to do, so let's say you take this fine nib, you put it to the side, you bring in a stub nib. Oh, great, we're going to use a new nib. You're going to put silicone grease in here, okay, and make sure you put it in good. You could put it in with the tip of this, okay, or get something fine and thin. Make sure it's lubed up. I know people will say against it, but I would lube this whole thing up. It won't do anything to it. Silicone grease, what happens is when you put the nib on your feed, and the feed's going to go on top of there, it will slide back into that feeder case nice. Okay, so you line up your feed on top there, okay, your nib on top, get it back into essentially the same position you took it out, and then you're going to hold this, line it up 12 and 6 like we put it in, okay, and it may take you a time or two. Okay, you got to line it up properly. Now I may have a hard time holding the, hang on one second. Okay, I had a hard time angling the camera and doing this. So once you find the notch, 12 and 6, you give it a push, okay, and then, okay, so you're going to push this in, and you will feel and see that the nib sits up against this nub, and it gets pushed all the way back, okay, touching this nub. And you're essentially done with putting your nib back in the feeder case. What's the next thing you have to do? We take our barrel, this barrel, not the cap one that we didn't put together yet, okay, we get the, I guess we'll call it the feeder case sleeve. Now it only goes in one way. However, when you put this in, you will notice and you will feel that there are notches. You must make those notches line up. If you go to tighten this pen and those notches are not lined up and not sitting flush, you will crack this piece. And good luck finding one on eBay. All right? So now we are going to put the nib unit back in there, give it a couple of twists. Okay, we're going to take our nib tool, find the slots, and we're going to turn this sucker in. Oh, and as I said, before you even do that, make sure all those internals, you grease them before you put this back. Okay, so we've essentially put on the nib unit. Last thing we have to do is, oh, not the last thing, the next thing we'll do is the piston. So we get our piston brass piece with the sleeve. Don't lose that sleeve. It's on there. Leave it alone. Don't lose it. Your cone with the thread and your piston. Now you're going to lubricate all these. You're going to lubricate here, lubricate the piston itself here. You're going to lubricate this conical threading, lubricate all these brass bushings. Okay? So first you're going to put this in and give it a couple of twists. Make sure it's flush. Give it a couple, not too many, maybe 1, 2, 3. A little bit more, fine. You're going to take this piece, you're going to turn it in. I can get this in, give it a couple of turns, make sure it mounts. And you're going to slide this back to see how much play you get. Now, I have too much play because this conical top is not tightening down completely. So what I have to do is I have to turn it back out, take this piece out, and give this a couple of more turns because I have too much throw. Okay, put it in again, pull it back, pull it back. Now that's pretty tight, but you see I have a lot of throw here. I can actually shorten this up to get more ink, so let me do that. Turn this out. Right, tighten that down a little bit, actually back it out a little bit. And you may have to play with this until you get it to a place where you like it, okay? Now that's still too long. All right, so I'm going to back it out a little bit more, put my piston back in there. If you want to get more throw, loosen it up to the left. If you want less throw, to the right. Okay, now let me try what it looks like. And it's nice and tight up here. That's perfect. Very little throw in there. Going to get maximum ink. Okay, now I'm going to loosen this up a bit, so I'll be able to get to those notches in there to tighten this up, but not too much to lose this piston. Okay, so we'll go for about there. And again, grease everything to make it go in nicely. We're going to insert that, and you may get a little resistance because from the plunger. And what I would do is I would get my tool already. Okay, that notch tool. Find your notch. Find your notch on the other side and start to tighten down. All right. And you'll have a smooth, nice new piston. Okay, the pen proper is done. And we're going to put it over here so it doesn't fall. Just off to the side. Let's work on our cap. Now, why would you want to take apart a cap? Well, your clip could, you have those fat shirt pockets, or if you stick these in your jeans like I do sometimes, this can loosen up a little bit. So you can give it a little bit of a bend, not too much, to make sure you get that nice, firm, crisp clip. You're going to put that back on. You're going to put your cone back on. And you're going to drop your blind clip in the bottom. Okay, actually, you're going to make sure it comes out the bottom, because if it doesn't, it's not going to work. There it is. All right, we're going to seat that. We're going to take our flathead screwdriver. We're going to put that in, start turning, hold the other end. Okay, it'd be good if I could find the flathead in there. This is a little hard to do on camera. Hang on. I did find it. Tighten up, all right? And essentially, we have a completely reassembled Montblanc 149. Now, if you don't feel like you can do this on your own, and you feel like you'd like some help, I can put in some links down there, possibly, if you want to send your pen in to me. I'm certainly sure I can fix it for cheaper than Montblanc. And I'd be more than happy to do so. I'll be making other pen videos also. You can put in a request for some you'd like to see disassembled if I have them. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have some great constructive comments and feedback. Please keep it even keel, nothing over the top. And I hope I'll get a lot of responses on this video. I hope they're good, and I definitely look forward to making more videos. Thanks very much. Have a great day, and I hope this makes your day. Bye.